Alright, I'll do the shouting out. Okay. So, nightmarish technical difficulties aside, spawning in at the bottom of the map as the green Terran at long last, we have ASL Zeran. And the top left-hand corner, spawning in as the whitish kind of Protoss. I'm going to call him grey. Spawning in as a grey Protoss, we have Ajambek. Don't really know how to pronounce that. Hacklebeast, any input? Ajambek.
Ajambek. That sounds as good as anything I could come up with, I guess.
Alright. Yeah. Ajambek it is. I'll just have to try saying that a lot of times very fast. Ajambek. I know it's not grey. I don't know what it is though. I'm just going to call it grey. White, grey. Yeah. Whatever works. Protoss guy. So, having a look at the map is of course going to be Neo Medusa. So you have this big, scary, wide open natural choke point. You have an equally big, scary, wide open choke point heading from the natural into your main. And you have the crazy, scary back base mineral only with destructible temples so that the evil Terran can roll his way up that ramp just as soon as he has siege tanks out. ASL Zeran saying stuff. So yeah, this map can be a little bit tricky for Protosters to play against Terran because especially in the mid game, if Terran manages to make a way all the way across those temples, it can be a little bit difficult. So it's kind of a game of staving him off, trying to keep control as much as possible. Of course, it does open the way up for quite aggressive strategies from the Protosters as well because it's got those big, open, freely movable choke points, which means that any kind of 10-15 gate or anything can be effective if executed well. Thoughts, Hacklebeast? What are we going to be seeing?
Yeah, those destructible rocks definitely help the Terran, as you said, especially in this position. When the Terran pushes towards the Protoss' base, it's really easy for them to take down the temple, and they don't even have to push up that direction, but just that threat of an attack can really put a strain on the Protoss in trying to defend both directions at the same time. Yeah. Not to mention that, obviously, that entire huge cliff there is just so many points to drop tanks to go, or drop vultures if you want to go for dropship play. I definitely feel that Terran has a lot of options that makes life very difficult for the Protoss.
Yeah, that's definitely very valid. I mean, I remember playing this. I don't play it much anymore because obviously it's a very old map. But I remember playing it and having huge difficulty with all that kind of stuff, and I found myself regularly hamstrung by the fact that the Terran could bust down those temples in the mid game and make my life hell. I remember it very clearly.
We are going to see a relatively quick second gate out for our Protoss player here.
Yes, 10-15 gate.
Yeah, so I definitely think, and as you were hinting at before, I definitely think that getting aggressive is really a good move on a map like this. You really don't want to leave it up to the Terran to decide how the game's going to progress. You really want to force the Terran to play defensively and not allow them to get any of those aggressive options really off the ground. Hopefully they'll be able to do something. Without the ramp, it's going to be a little bit harder for Terran to defend with just that one single siege tank. And possibly, if the tank sieges up in just the wrong position, 4 goons might be able to step forward and snipe it. But we'll see.
I think the Terran's doing something very wise right now. He's laying down a bunker out in front of his base. Quite interesting because that kind of suggests a relatively quick expansion. But if he's able to get that bunker up, which he definitely will be able to, as the first Dragoon is only just on its way now, looks like it's misrallied as well. So that's going to be a little bit confused for just a second. If indeed he gets that bunker up, which he now has got, then he can just throw down a tank and lay it down just inside his main base, where it'll be very well protected from any kind of run by, and will be in fact almost completely invincible from the Dragoons, giving him a nice position at the front of his base. And that is one of the reasons why 10-15 gate is not always very effective on this kind of map, and this map specifically.
Now, Protoss has built a proxy on the right-hand side of the map and is going to proxy their Citadel tech out there. So it looks like Ajambek is going to try to sneak some DTs without Zeran seeing the tech. Range has finished, so he can start to wail away on the bunker. And really, Zeran has no way of... He has no way to scout this out. He's just going to have to be playing... he's going to have to be playing honest and not trying to cut Engineering Bay or Academy at some point here. Because if he does, he's going to find that this is going to be a very short game.
Yeah. Tell you what, getting Terran to play honest is always a good advantage. I'm not going to lie, because Terrans, they love to cut the corners absolutely wherever they can, and stopping them from doing so just makes them a little bit less efficient. It looks like we may lose the bunker at the front of the base, though. I think that was intentional by the Terran, because he has already got mines down, so he should be okay, barring any kind of ridiculously ghostly micro. Would we have the Dragoons walking into mines? Oh no, that's absolutely disastrous. We have Dragoons taking hits. One Dragoon goes down already. All the shields taken off. Another one. If he continues in with those Dragoons, I expect him to have none left before very long, and this is exactly what the Terran wants to happen just then. All the while, we have a starport making a dropship in the back of Terran's base, so this was his plan all along. This was a pretty nice fake out from Zeran, convincing the Protoss that he's trying to get some kind of expansion up, making the Protoss think he's doing better than he really is. Another mine hitting another Dragoon there, so really he's got no purchase with which to continue pushing into the Terran's main base, and this could be incredibly effective. The Protoss has no idea what's happening right now, and he has no inkling of any kind that there's going to be a dropship making its way over to his base right now. Another mine landing on more Dragoons, and it looks like he may lose more Dragoons right here, doing a halfway decent job with my green. Oh! Bam! So many Dragoons getting taken down. Only a couple of mines left, but he's got more than enough to make sure that he's going to be quite safe. And the SCV in the Protoss main base is going to reveal the fact that there is nothing at all to defend this vulture drop. So this is going to do huge amounts of damage to the probe count, and the natural expansion not even nearly up for Protoss, so there's nowhere for these probes to run and hide. Meanwhile, the Protoss is doing a decent job of busting into the Terran's main. If the DTs which he just produced are going to be effective, he needs to keep those Dragoons alive, and he does not do that. He loses both of his remaining Dragoons to one single Spider Mine, and I would be very, very, very shocked right now if these DTs don't walk directly into those two mines waiting for him.
Yeah, but those mines are going to be the only defense here. There are no other vultures here to lay more mines. He's making tanks right now. So I don't think that the mines are going to be able to kill both of the DTs, and these DTs might be able to do good damage. Meanwhile, the vultures are doing great damage of their own. Oh, mine blowing up a Dragoon and a bunch of probes. Ajambek has very little probes left. It looks like only 4, and he needs to do amazing damage with these DTs now, as Zeran realizes the DTs are in his base and has started the engineering bay. Ajambek really needs to stop that engineering bay from going up, because as soon as the turret's built, this game is over.
And he can stop it from going up. He has the power right now. We do have another vulture out, so he's probably going to lay mines around that engineering bay. We have another DT waiting outside the base. However, I feel he should really get that DT in. He could be getting the double pronged action going on. Usefully for the Terran right now, however, we do have another CC going up in his mineral only, which could really be his saving grace. He's laid down more mines, so I don't know if we have the DT count to actually push up there, and it looks like we will not have the DT count to push up there, so that makes the Terran safe, and it is going to be GG. He is not going to be able to get back into this. He has not a single probe remaining in the game, and just as soon as that next DT goes down, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a GG from him. Another mine going off, taking another mine hit to one of his few remaining Dragoons, and he's now beginning probe production from square zero once again. And yeah, this is pretty problematic. I would not like to be the Protoss at this stage, but this game is pretty much over.
Yeah. The Protoss wasn't going to be able to scout. Wasn't going to be able to scout the dropship, but he should have been able to guess that something was up, because he came in with the Dragoons. He saw that there was no expansion, and there was an expansion waiting around as if it was about to be lifted in. At the same time, he saw a lot of mines and not a siege tank. He knows that given that there's no command center, and given that there's no siege tanks, his opponent had to be spending money somewhere, and the best guess off of that was that it was a dropship. But didn't quite put the pieces together, and those 4 vultures just did so much damage because he didn't leave any goons behind.
I think he must have assumed a command center cancellation when he got in, so no command center. He must have assumed that it was being built somewhere in the Terran's main, and that it was then cancelled as soon as the bunker went down. But even so, I think you're right. He should have put 2 and 2 together a little bit better than he did. But even so, taking nothing away from our Terran player, he did a very, very good job of faking the Protoss out right there. Thoroughly convincing, definitely. Oh, and one DT managed to get a nice swipe on Vulture there. Both those vultures are very, very low health. One of them does survive, and a couple more vultures are going to come in and finish off the last of these probes. And this has got to be it, because the Protoss has nothing. He's just kind of clinging on, making some more probes. It's not really going to be doing anything. He's got one Dragoon trying to defend these vultures. These vultures can just dart in and out all day. And say goodbye to your Dragoon, and he's going to eat mine. Bam, bam. There it goes. And at the moment, we're just watching the terrible charade of Dragoons throwing away their lives away in futility. Another DT wandering into the Terran main, going to be taken down, taking 2 vultures with him, but it matters not. He's going to be cleared up, and GG from Ajambek. And that does, of course, mean that Zeran is going to take that game So far, what we've seen is we've seen Splat win and we've seen Zeren win, and we've also therefore seen who did we see lose in the first game? My memory is so incredibly bad. Alec.
Yes.
ASL Alec. Yeah.
Realize I don't need scorecards, so I'll just take those away.
Yeah.
All right.
And we're going to be going on to game 3 here in the group stage of the ASL. Once again, I'm sorry for the very, very confused nature of this stream, but we are doing the best we can. And hopefully all issues will be solved by next week.
Yep. Game is up.
I'm going to say Ombeck from now on. I'm being told it's actually Ombeck.
Why? Are you being told? You mean you're being told by Game in chat?
Yeah.
Why does Game know how to pronounce the names of random C-rank players?
Yeah, I don't know. He knows and sees all. Game is the Matrix.
I guess.
I suppose.
Good as explanation as any.
Alright, I'm ready to go. Okay, Coriolis is now telling me I'm back.
Alright.
Okay. But don't need to know that right now, because this game is featuring the mighty talents of, on the left-hand side, spawning in as the grey Protoss. If you don't think it's grey, just bear with me, we'll just have to deal with it. ASL Zeran, and on the right-hand side, spawning in as the yellow Terran, we have ASL Alec. These guys, of course, both of the losers from their first games. I always find losers an incredibly harsh word because it has bad connotations. If you're being called a loser, it is by no means a kind way of expressing your status in the society, but nonetheless these guys are playing in the loser bracket, so we'll see who can take it in the massive slugfest that this game is going to be. And of course, whoever loses this game, I believe, will be guaranteed to be falling out of the tournament, and whoever wins will be going on once again to face down against one of the previous winners.
This is OSL style, right? Where everybody plays everybody else? Because I have 6 games. It's Gable.
Is it not losers bracket?
No, I think the replays were labeled 1 through 6.
Okay, so I suppose it's OSL style. So yeah, it's not losers bracket. So, they just happen to both be the losers.
Yeah. Theoretically, the loser of this game being down 0-2 could come back if there's a 3-way 1-2 tie, but he's going to need a lot of help. Where the winner of this will be at 1-1 and in quite a good position to get out.
Yeah, we have the gateway being thrown down, so no cheese as of yet. This is, of course, Heartbreak Ridge, so cheesy stuff would be not entirely out of the usual state of affairs. Terran actually sending out a pretty early scout, so right away we can see that he's a little bit worried about that as well. And his SUV making it at the barracks getting a little bit damaged, so he's sacrificing quite a lot of his early game economy. Might have to send out another SUV in order to actually complete that barracks if that first SUV doesn't get taken down, which it might in fact do. That SUV is on very, very low health, with the probe doing its job wonderfully well. That scout's going to arrive at Protoss main base and see absolutely nothing out of the ordinary, but very, very sensible from our friend Alec, making sure that everything is in order early on in the game.
Yeah, that probe from Zeran's getting pretty lucky here, as he's getting a lot of hits off of these SCVs. He's already forced one of them to pull away, and needs a couple hits on the other one to pull away. And he's going to back off just now. But if he had stuck around, I think he might have forced a third SCV to come and complete that barracks, just because of the way that probe has been moving, or the SCV has been moving.
God, that probe's annoying. It's actually going to trap an SCV, and it is definitely going to get the SCV kill right here. So that's very, very frustrating for Alec. I'm not quite sure what he would have been able to do about that. He should have probably just tricked out an SCV a little bit earlier and just taken down that probe as soon as possible. But either way, he has another very, very damaged SCV out there now as well. Not producing a Marine yet either in order to clear off that probe. So I think he should probably be getting on that. But he's looking good right here, taking a decent early game position, managing to somehow get himself ahead in the economy. Very, very early scout going out for Terran, coupled with having to use up a lot of SCVs in order to just get his front walling completed.
Yeah, that's actually interesting, cutting that first Marine to get the slightly faster factory. I wonder if we're going to see him go for drop play like we saw Zeran do in the last game. It seems to be the indication by getting that factory just a little bit extra fast. He could be going for pretty much anything. And wow, 2-kill probe. SCV. Very nice.
Yeah, that probe's going to make it away. What a boss.
Anyway, as you see, the Protoss base has produced the first Dragoon, getting that fast range is normal, and Alec has hid an SCV up at the top here. It's just going to scout all the units that move out here. It could be cleaned out very quickly by Zeran. Zeran's now going to come up to see if there was a scout there. Indeed there is. and we'll be picking it off.
Yeah.
There it goes.
All very fair. All's fair in love and war, especially when you have a Dragoon against an SCV. It's only going to end one way. That probe making its way all the way back with 2 kills to a hero's welcome, no doubt. A standing salute from one of these ridiculous Dragoons wobbling around in the natural. And it's looking like it's making ready to throw down a Nexus as well. We're going for a Nexus without Robo, if this probe's intentions are in fact to be believed. Whilst meanwhile, from the Terran side of things, I think that's a slightly odd decision because Terran is not showing a huge amount of intent to expand as of yet. As far as the Protoss is concerned, little do we know that he actually has stored up 400 minerals in the bank, so it looks like he may actually be intending to do exactly that. But the Protoss wouldn't of course know this, so it's a little bit weird that he's decided not to get observers before throwing down his own expansion. A little bit daring from him there.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised by Alec's decision here. He didn't make any Marines, so he went for a fast tank, and if he had continued Marine production, he wouldn't be able to get down his command center as fast as he's going to be able to. But on the other hand, he would be able to get a nice little FD push going with the 5 Marines in the tank, and then reinforce with Vultures eventually. So it'll be interesting to see how he can defend this with just a single siege tank. Siege mode should be finishing pretty soon here, but the siege tank does need to be careful that Dragoons don't get too many shots off on it from this high ground here.
Yeah, those Dragoons are going to be doing a lot of damage to that supply depot. I mean, it should be okay because we've got 3 SCVs repairing there. He could, of course, get up there and have a bit of a crack at the SCVs and just force them to keep repairing, but he's not going to do that. He's not too bothered about this pressure, and why would he be? It looks like he may take a couple of siege tank hits to Dragoons. Ooh. However, he could lose a Dragoon here. No, just retreating in time, but losing a lot of shield off 2 of them and losing a lot of health off 1 of them as well. So very, very weak Dragoons there. And this puts the Terran in a decent position to actually push out to his natural, which he desperately needs to do. The CC is not quite halfway done, so he's got another minute or so. And producing a 3rd tank as well, but he now should be able to very, very easily get out there without too much threat from these Dragoons and lay down his expansion without too much trouble.
Yeah, this actually kind of puts Terran in an awkward position because he can't. Protoss is going to have a much, much faster expansion as it's already done, where Terran still needs a little bit more time to finish and then all that time to float over. So Protoss is going to have a huge economic lead. At the same time, Terran has no options to punish it because 3 siege tanks, while he's going to make an expansion completely safe, is not going to be anywhere near enough to attack the Protoss. So Terran's just going to kind of have to accept the fact that he's going to be going into this game economically down and see what he can make out of it. Protoss now getting up the Robo facility, assumably for observers. And the observers will certainly be out before mines, as Alec hasn't started either of his Vulture upgrades, showing no intention of getting any Vultures, which is a little bit surprising.
Yeah, it is a little bit surprising, because Vultures would make him very, very safe at this point, whereas as it is, he is very, very decidedly not safe. He's got nothing but a few siege tanks between him and Annihilation. As the Protoss finally gets his observer tech underway, he's going to have a little bit more ability with which to actually scout out what's happening. At the moment, he doesn't really have too much of a window, but if he were to produce a shuttle, he could definitely have a way in. The Terran's defense is looking very, very weak, and his siege tank's not ideally spaced either. Looking at it though, he does have enough missile turrets to probably make him safe as he transfers out to his natural expansion. SCV just scouting out, having a look at the Protoss natural, seeing nothing out of the ordinary. And as we transition to the mid-game, the Protoss is going to be heading down the Reaver tech path, and this is quite an interesting timing for the Reaver, because of course this hits much later than you'd usually expect it, and that can have the advantage of catching the Terran entirely off guard.
Yeah, I'm quite interested to see how much damage he can do with the Reaver. It's certainly not going to be scouted, as the Academy still has a little bit of a ways to go, so the Reaver will be a surprise. There is only a couple of turrets in the main, and they're very spaced out, meaning that the shuttle would have a lot of maneuverability. And with only a single Marine, it actually doesn't have to worry so much about continuing to move around if it just wanted to hover over a space for a little while. There are a good number of siege tanks, so it needs to be he needs to excuse me. He needs to make sure he knows where those are and not drop too close to them. But this is a good map for Reaver harass. You can drop it on the high ground here, and the Scarabs will go down the ramp, as opposed to maps with more traditional siegeable high grounds where the Reaver could not go down a little path. So I think that dropping it in that spot is going to be able to score him a lot of SCV kills before Terran knows what's up.
No, it could well do. It's not rare, of course, for the Scarabs to bug out even from this position with a scanner sweep down as well. If he targets the wrong SCV, it can be a little bit of a problem. But yeah, as you said, he is going to have a decent window right there. I'm getting suspicious that the Terran might think something's up and send an SCV up to the high ground, but he's not looking like he's going to do so just yet. Sending an SCV down to the bottom right-hand corner just to make sure he's got scouting information. Very, very sensible. And if he's lucky, then that's where the Reaver will come in from, and he will be alerted in advance. But as it is, that Reaver could have a nice little bit of a window, an observer heading around to the back of the Terran expansion as well, just to see what's up. And it looks like that is indeed the direction which he will choose to begin harassing from. So he's going to know that the Terran is very ill defended and ill prepared to deal with his Reaver at that particular point.
Well, the Reaver was actually delayed a little bit longer. He could have gotten that Reaver out slightly faster, but this way the Reaver is going to finish around the same time the shuttle's speed is, making that shuttle even more dangerous. It's going to be very quick darting in and out, as long as he's careful to make sure that he doesn't go too close to the missile turrets. And Alec is starting to expand forward with his siege tanks, and those siege tanks are going to be in a really bad position to defend against the Reaver harass. He's going to have an excellent opportunity to do some good damage here, loaded up with 2 zealots, so even if there is 1 or 2 siege tanks left behind, as we can see there are a couple, he'll be able to tank those shots really easily and do a lot of damage. But here we go. Yeah. How much damage will the first Reaver shot do?
Probably not too much. We see very few SCVs stacked on the end, and he immediately sees the danger and runs his SCVs away. Very, very sensible move from him. We have 1 zealot going to go down and try and take care of that tank, but that zealot's going to be lost in a futile attempt to pick that zealot up. He loses the zealot rather unnecessarily. He's going to try heading into the Terran main base. Probably not to have too much joy.
Pick it up!
Really bad if he pins that Reaver. He almost loses it. I'm surprised the tanks didn't manage to get it. It looked like he was just moving the tanks, not actually A-moving them. If they'd been A-moving them, that would have been done. Managed to take out an observer at the front, and that Reaver does not half the damage it could possibly have done. He could even, little does he know it, have headed into the Terran main base as well and done plenty of damage on the SCV stack there as it tried to run away. Landing the Reaver down at third base, doing a little bit of delaying tactics, however, but it's really not going to do all it should. Meanwhile, we have the process with his third base already up, so the expansion timings aren't too unfavourable for him. He's had that third base up for a minute or so, but he'd want to be a little bit ahead of the Terran, a little bit more ahead of the Terran, I should say, in expansion timings. Realistically, we have 4 siege tanks now taking a position behind the natural expansion, so they're going to be all entirely safe as the SCV stack moves around. And 1 Marine having a bit of a pop at the shuttle as well. I really hope he doesn't decide to do something silly with his Reaver. No, it looks like he would be best served just running away and saving that for a later day. Meanwhile, the Protoss is doing a good job. He's already got his Stargate up. He's doing well with his upgrades too. And I expect to see an Arbiter Tribunal laying down any second here.
Yeah. A little bit of a shame for Zarin that he wasn't able to do more damage there. He waited so long that he needed to... Ooh, getting very risky with the Reaver here. Wow. I don't know how he managed to not lose that Reaver, but...
I have no idea.
He didn't get any damage done, so it didn't work out for him. Just sacrificed the Zealot. It's a little bit unfortunate he couldn't do more damage. As we saw, he had the Observer in there very early, which delayed the Reaver a lot, but it did mean he had perfect scouting. He knew exactly where the holes in the defense were, and theoretically, he should have been able to get more done.
Oh, sorry, I thought he was going to go down on that mine. It looks like he's actually found a little bit of a window. And some nice shots off right now as well. The Terran needs to be a little bit quicker on putting his SCVs. It looks like this Scarab is going to be done. Oh no, and he throws away the Reaver. I suppose it was always going to happen eventually. He's been a little bit careless and not entirely productive with that. Meanwhile, somehow, we have Vultures getting into the third base and taking down a lot of the Protoss probes. It looks like he's going to be throwing away that Vulture though. He could have done a lot more damage with that, but the probe count looking very sparse down there. Fortunately, he's got a bajillion spare in his main and natural, so that shouldn't be too much of a problem. But the Terran with his third base up and the Protoss with his third base up as well means that these guys are pretty much equal on economy, which leaves the Terran in a halfway decent position after a very disadvantageous early game. So this is probably going to put them roughly even in terms of how far they've progressed in this game. However, the supply count tells a different story. If we look at the supply, we have 146 for our Protoss versus just 94 for our Terran player, and that really shows what a huge discrepancy there is at this stage.
Yeah, running into mines in the middle of the map. He even had an observer there. I don't know how he wasn't able to take that out. But, yeah, looks like he's going to get a little bit aggressive with some Dragoons here. Really, I'm not sure what he plans on getting out of this. There's certainly enough siege tanks to really shut this down. But, yeah, Zarin is in a pretty good position here. The supply gap is quite large. But if you consider how... I guess... Yeah, he'd be in a better spot if he just didn't do the Reaver harass and just continued like normal, but You know, I can't complain with the position you're in. He has Arbiters out, I believe. No, not quite out yet. Getting pretty close, though. So Arbiters will be out in a little bit. He needs to wait until then. It looks like these Vultures will, unfortunately, discover his hidden Expo, and he doesn't wall it right. I think that he could get away with just one pylon wall, but you cannot. You need two pylons to wall off that bottom Expo. And while the Vultures will be taken out, it's unfortunate that Terran's going to discover the existence of that Expo.
Yeah, he's going to have a hard time doing anything about it, though, because that's not going to be a nice push route for him. He's going to have so many opportunities to get caught at bad positions along the way if he wants to get any kind of push out there. It's probably best to try and deal with this with mainly a dropship type strategy, and that's probably why there's only one pylon instead of two for a complete walling, because he knows, he's very aware of the danger, because of course dropships can get in and out of there just as quickly as they like.
So, is the Arbiter out now? Yes, the first Arbiter is out somewhere. There we go. First Arbiter is out. He actually made a second Reaver, interestingly. And, well, I guess you can try to bring it along in the big battle, but when you have a large battle, doing Reaver Micro as well can be very APM taxing. But he's at 200 at this point, so he can't build any more units. He now needs to start throwing away units and whittling down the Terran to make room for the new units to come, and I would have to assume he's going to move out at any moment now.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty soon.
Yeah, we already see some fragments moving out, just not bringing the Arbiter, which was really the catalyst he needs to help out here. And, well, looks like he's going to use some Dragoons to help clear a path for the drop. No? Oh, okay.
No, he's just
that
playing.
was. No.
Yeah, the Arbiter, whilst good, I don't even think he needs it. If we have a look at his army, he's got, he could probably do with a few more speed ups in order to really bust him in here, but if he gets all those from his natural, I honestly think there's nothing stopping him. He could probably bust right through the Terran's natural expansion right now, because all those tanks, they're not in the best position. They're not behind any mines, not behind any vulture cover either. He's pretty much just produced tank all game so far. He's got a few vultures on the way out now, but very, very, very few. And what he has produced, he's used up in harass. So yeah, I think the process is in a better position than he actually realizes. If he were able to get a couple of observers over those tanks, we would see quite how advantageous this is, and we'd probably be able to push all the way in quite easily in combination with an Arbiter as well.
Yeah. That is a fearsome number of tanks, given the fact that he doesn't have as many speed loss, but he has added a lot now. And yeah, as you said, no mines protecting him, so once the Zealots get in among those tanks, they're going to be able to do a lot of damage very quickly. And I guess he just doesn't have his observers in the best position to realize exactly how far ahead he is.
Yeah, well, it's good turret cover.
Yeah,
you've got to give that to our Terran.
Yeah, good turret cover. I was going to comment out, he did build a lot of turrets out here, which is preventing them from moving in, but at some point you just gotta get that scouting information to realize the position you're in. In fact, if he had better scouting information, I'd almost never mind. I was gonna say you should go for a recall, but he has thrown down in the ridiculous number of turrets to defend against the recall.
Yeah, and mines as well. Imagine if a recall went into the bottom of the base right there. It would just be devastation.
Quite the funny recall, but yeah. Well, Protoss really doesn't seem too intent on moving in. And
no, he seems very content where he is, I suppose. He's got Arbiters with lots of energy, not seeming too eager to do recalls, getting his upgrades. It's weird that he hasn't got his Arbiter energy upgrade yet, but that's just
it was on
finished
the way.
now.
Yeah, it's finished now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess if the Terran can't get off of 3 bases, then it's fine to just take the rest of the map and wait. A stasis does go down on the science vessel, so might be looking to get something here. There's some good opportunities for stasis on those tanks, but no, going for the recall instead. One good mine hit goes off, but this is primarily a Zealot recall, so they're going to be able to do a lot of damage to the tanks. There was even the Reaver in the recall, but only Vulture to deal with it, which means that it won't be taken out very quickly. And the rest of the Protoss army coming up from behind it, preventing Terran from getting that next base. Command center was being flown over, but now that command center needs to retreat. But there's a huge wall of siege tanks here, so unless you have some stasis, you really need to back off at this point. Yeah, losing a good number of goons there before realizing he needs to retreat, and well, just re-macro, I guess.
Yeah.
A little bit surprised he doesn't have more gateways, considering for how long he's been on 200-200.
But exactly. He does have more coming in at the bottom of the map, though, which is a good place to put them.
Okay, there we go. And we have a fleet beacon with interceptor upgrade researching. Is he getting his carrot? No. I don't see the Stargates.
I don't see them either. We just have two Stargates still in the mix, working away, making arbiters, but doesn't look like he's got any real conviction to go for carriers just yet. We do have the air weapons upgrade coming in, so no doubt he's planning to go for them at some point if he needs to switch out. Trying to bulldog his way into the Terran's base a little bit here, and it could be effective, dropping some zealots before the missile turrets come in. A good move there by a Protoss player, and it actually could bust him all the way in. The Terran could lose this mineral-only base, pushing forward more siege tanks from the back, however, having to unsiege them. This is getting really, really pretty messy for him, and the Protoss doing a nice job. It looks like he's going to lose that arbiter. A little bit of a mistake there from him. People can be very, very careless with their arbiters, but it looks like the Terran is going to be alright, bringing in more Terrans from more siege tanks from the back in order to defend this, and the Protoss is going to be pushed back off once again. Remacking nice and quick back to nearly 200 to supply already, but I think he's got way too much supply tied up in probes. His army not looking huge, whilst he's incredibly oversacked at probes, especially if we look down at the bottom right hand corner of the map, which has got so many workers. He could probably just do a sacking sub right now just to get a bigger army out on the field.
Yeah, almost. He's definitely reaching that point that there's no way for him to spend all the money he's making. And that might come back to bite him, as Terran does have enough siege tanks to that he's now slowly worked his way forward and can start taking this mineral only. Definitely needs that mineral only, as his main is gone and his natural is quickly mining out. Just Arbiter just chilling over there waiting to get EMP'd. But
yeah, which it does.
But here come the Speed Zealots to come in. The Speed Zealots should be able to do a lot of damage here. We have seen Alec do some good unsieging at times to really minimize the damage that lone Speed Zealots can do. Zarin needs to figure out how to get a combination attack going in, where after the opponent unsieges to deal with the Zealots, that's when the Dragoons come in and can start dealing a lot of damage. But he's had trouble just orchestrating that level of an attack this game.
Terran's doing a halfway decent job of trying to break this Terran. It's a good idea using the Bulldogs, using the shuttles with the Zealots loaded into them, but recall would just be so much more effective, and this is exactly the kind of thing we saw in last game as well, just this vaguely inexplicable lack of ability to recall. We can see that he's got a huge route open to him to go all the way across the map, recall into the top right hand corner base, recall into the natural, and even recall into the main from there, so I don't know why he isn't making use of that. And I think it's just a little bit sloppy of him. He's thrown away so much arbiter energy already this game. He could have had so many recalls going in from quite an early stage.
Well, I guess he's just going to stall and try to go for carriers as, as he now has 3 Stargates. A 4th one now started, but 3 carriers are on the way. Shield upgrade is now just finished, so the carriers will have +2 shields. I'm trying to find the cyber core to see what kind of upgrades he has other than that. It's an attack upgrade, but I'm not sure which one.
I think this is +2 upgrade now coming in.
Yeah, it's indeed it is. This is actually kind of a dangerous position for the Protoss, because his army is so small and so much of his little supply that isn't probes is being tied up in carriers he can't use. Look at that huge saturation at these bases. He's actually transferring an entire base worth of probes to the already oversaturated base at the bottom right.
Yeah, it's incredible. He should just throw some of them away. If he just sends them into the Terran army and gets more supply, because that's really restricting him pretty badly at this point. He's got, what, 3 control groups of units out on the map? I don't know why he isn't getting rid of some of those probes, because his army is tiny despite the fact that he's fully maxed. That means his bank's growing a lot faster and a lot bigger than it should be as well. He should be able to spend a lot more of that and get a pretty critical mass out here. The Terrans shouldn't be able to deal with this, but just because of that lack of attention to detail, Alec is still very much in this game, and Zeron is still kind of struggling with how to deal with this Terran.
We're starting to see a good number of Goliaths come out from the Terran player. I think that he was able to scan carriers, and that's really going to be a huge blow to Protoss, as Terran was maxed at this point. You needed the carriers to be a bit of a surprise. And even if they were surprised, there are so many turrets fragmented around the map, the carriers are actually going to have a little bit of trouble just moving around. We can see the Protoss is going for a center expansion, but I don't think his army's big enough to really hold that, as the center is close enough to where the Terran army is already all spread out. Looks like this base is being sieged down currently. It's... There are a couple carriers out now, but only 3, realizing they have no chance against all those turrets, are going to head back towards the center, and I do not know what he plans to do with carriers on this map.
Well, all he's done so far is he just went in down to the bottom right-hand side and just basically threw away all his interceptors and retreated after killing nothing. He took some health off an engineering bay, but that's pretty much it. The Terran can afford another one at this stage. That top left-hand base is definitely going to be sieged down. There's no way he can defend that because his army is just so small. He needs to get more stuff in right now. He needs to get rid of some probes. This is actually vaguely painful to see that he isn't really picking up on this. I'm sure he will do soon, but all the while his mining situation is not great. He's got a good bank, but that doesn't last forever. That's only a few rounds of macro. That's only 1 or 2 fresh armies he's got in him there. So yeah, he really needs to pay attention to what's going on right here and do what's best. Those carriers are not going to be the game winner at this point. He just doesn't have enough. And the Terrans are just too well prepared, laying down so many missile turrets, getting plenty of Goliaths on the map now, making life very, very, very difficult for Zoran.
Yeah, we could see the Terrans trying to break the attack, but there were already a good number of missile turrets there, and now here come the Goliaths. They're going to be able to do a little bit to slow this down, but ultimately they can't stop Terran from taking out this base. Eventually he's going to step forward to Goliaths. Surprisingly, Goliaths, you don't actually need that many to deal with carriers if they're not being microed at all. So he can. It looks like he's preparing to move forward. More Goliaths being joined up, and Terran's going to be able to split the map with Protoss, excluding this center base that Protoss has taken. And another base is not what he needs at this point. He has all the mining he could possibly want. He just needs more carriers. He needs he needs more supply room to be able to add more carriers.
Yeah, it makes sense to take another base, even if just to deny it to the Terran, and just to get some more cash in the bank, because money isn't bad, but you definitely shouldn't be keeping more probes on the field just for that. The Protoss trying to do a little bit of a poke in, but once again losing all his interceptors and forced to retreat as that top left-hand base is finally going to be taken down. And that's kind of a blessing, really, because he doesn't need that base. And also some probes died, so that's all very good for a Protoss player. Finally has some high Templars out in the middle of the map as well. With some supply being freed up long enough for him to actually get them out of his gateways. It looks like he's going for a little bit of a push into the Terran natural now. There are quite a lot of spider mines and Goliaths waiting for him. Don't think it's a very good idea. And if an EMP goes down on these carriers right now, it's going to be very tricky for him to keep them alive, as there's a good number of Goliaths out and they're able to do plenty of damage. It looks like the Protoss push into the natural might actually be halfway successful, but there's a huge Terran army coming back in order to defend this. And the Protoss army is looking increasingly tiny, using up his Ice Storms on single tanks. He should really be saving them for what is about to come at him from behind. This is going to be really, really super bad. His army is about to get crushed, and I think he's going to lose what few carriers he has as well. He should probably be trying to get out right now, but I think it's a bit late for his army on the ground. And the carriers could get caught here as well. It looks like the Goliaths are going to be doing the moving shot micro and going to be able to catch up with at least most of them. Looks like one's going to be taken down in short order here, taking down an observer on the way as well, getting slightly distracted. One carrier goes down, will he be able to get another one? It looks like he probably won't, so that most of the carriers do actually get away. But the longer this goes on, the more of a shot Terran actually has. Protoss isn't being cost efficient, so while he has tons more minerals, he's being so much less cost efficient than Terran. Terran is doing a great job of keeping his stuff alive and defending without losing too much stuff. So that's going to put him actually in not too bad of a position. A few Goliaths wandering through the middle are going to get caught by photon cannons. Might actually manage to get away with it, somehow not losing a single one as of yet, so that's maybe a little bit lucky. As the Protoss repositions himself once again, and heading through the middle, it's probably not the best idea, because it's going to fragment his army really badly as they go through the probe line. He needs to be heading around the side of the map. And the Terran has got a really, really strong defense position. He's got so many mines down, he's got a good siege tank spread, he's got loads of Goliaths out on the map. He's got pretty much an impenetrable wall. At this point, what Protoss really needs is arbiters. Or carriers in far greater numbers than he has them. One science master just relaxing up at the top left hand corner. There is an arbiter up there, but looking thoroughly EMP'd. And the carrier is probably going to be seen clear fairly soon as well as the Goliaths head up to the top left hand corner. Now, just taking a look at the upgrades, we do have the Protoss just ahead on upgrades, so his army is going to be that little bit more effective, but of course has already covered extensively. He doesn't really have one, so it's not going to count for too much, and the carrier is going to be beaten back very, very easily as plenty of Goliaths come in to defend the top left hand base. And meanwhile, I can hear siege tank fire. Where is it happening and what's going on? I was imagining that the Terran was pushing through to the middle, but it looks like he's not doing that just yet. But the siege tanks are all in sieging, so he could see something of the kind now, and he could be in a position to actually threaten what is really left of the Protoss economy, which is this middle base, and he really, really needs that to stay alive.
Yeah, carriers are doing some nice micro here. They are managing to take out a lot of the Goliaths, because the Goliaths are only focusing down the interceptors rather than the carriers. Now stepping forward a little bit, I think they managed to take out one. But even if Protoss was able to deny this base, Terran has a 4K bank. A 4K bank and mining off of the mineral only in the center is going to be able to catch a bunch of unguarded siege tanks here, and that's going to be nice, but the Protoss army isn't big enough that taking out siege tanks really terribly matters. The Goliaths are the more important issue, as Protoss more and more focuses on a carrier-based army. So, while, yeah, he's able to take out a lot of the Goliaths here, but he's not in a position where he can win a war of attrition with the Terran. Or if he is going to win a war of attrition, it's going to be a very, very long one, as Terran still has 3K. Somehow, if Protoss is mining off of more bases, and does have more money, so if he can continue to stall the Terran, he might be in a fine position. But I almost feel that while before stalling the Terran seemed like a completely feasible thing, now we're just kind of crossing our fingers that Terran doesn't realize how little of an army Protoss has, unsiege and crush everything with a big attack through the middle. Because if you attack through the middle, the carriers will not be able to micro, and they're going to be very exposed. The Heartbreak style Ridge will do a pretty good job of defending the carriers, but not as good as normal walls like this. And yeah, as long as the carriers can micro around here, they're going to be very strong. But once Terran stops microing in this area and starts going towards a more difficult location to fight in, it's going to become much, much harder for those carriers to be as effective as they're being now.
Yeah, he's done a very good job with the carriers at the top left-hand corner, finally making them pay for themselves, taking out a lot of Goliaths, and the Goliaths are still fighting, and this is just a constant in-and-out micro battle, and I hope both players are paying good attention to their macro and micro in other areas of the map as well. A lot of Goliaths still going down, but it looks like he will finally beat off the carriers here, and he just needs to start focusing down carries a little bit better because they can just replenish in sectors all day long. The Protoss bank is starting to dwindle quite extensively, however. It looks like the Protoss has seen off the pressure on the middle base, but the middle base is not too far from mined out already. And the Protoss doesn't have too much of a bank. The Terran is still going to be mining off the top left-hand corner if he can defend it, and this is really a critical juncture right now. This base is what stands between the Terran and victory, really. If he can keep this base up, then he is actually going to be in a decent position. He should throw down more missile turrets and just do everything he can to defend. Looking at his macro, he is pumping more Goliaths at a pretty good rate, so he's keeping up with that nicely, even whilst microing up the top left-hand corner. And it looks like he is starting to stabilize. He's got more missile turrets up, he's got more Goliaths on the way, and he could just be okay here, starting to focus down. A carrier right now, not managing to get one. An EMP on those would make all the difference at this point.
EMP would be quite nice. A lot of these carriers are injured, but the Goliaths are having a tough time focusing them actually down. And if you're not actually killing the carriers, then they're still going to be just as effective as full health ones. He is continuing to rally in Goliaths, but we have seen his bank, which was up at 5k at one point, has now dwindled down to just 1. He has very slowly been able to add in missile turrets, but it's hard for those SCVs to get much farther up to build missile turrets because the carriers are just constantly harassing.
Yeah,
and
this is really battle of the banks right now, and we can see that both of these guys just using all their resources in that incredibly long battle of attrition right there, carries versus Goliath, and that lasted quite a while. Look at all those probes on the middle base. Scan gets thrown down, and he's going to see quite how dire the Protoss mineral situation is. He's still got a surprising number of minerals left at the 6 o'clock, so he's going to be able to head back and mine there. But meanwhile, the Terran main base is being destroyed. I'm not quite sure if that was a recall, if he literally just
walked them in.
He just walked units in. Okay, so the Terran was a little bit distracted there, I feel, and that could be a very, very big game changer. It looks like the Terran's bank is now all the way down. He has only 150 minerals left, while the Protoss still has a good number of carriers out. And I think suddenly this game has swung, and I think is suddenly looking insurmountable for the Terran. He's suddenly got nothing. He's got 95 supply, and he's battling against 189. And that carrier count, I think, is about to finish things off, and it is going to be a victory for Zoran.
Yeah, those carriers are now looking very, very scary as they're in such large numbers. The Goliaths, I don't think he can create quite enough Goliaths to really do a lot of damage to the carriers here, as we see that the carriers are perfect upgrades. The Goliaths never got past 2-2, and that was a huge issue. If they had been 3-3 Goliaths, this could have been a very... The fights over in the top left could have looked much different, as they would have been doing a lot more damage. But the carriers are coming in now, trying to take out those factories. There are no other factories around the map, so if those factories are taken out in the main, that's going to be it for Terran's production. They don't have enough money to rebuild the factories, and they hardly have enough money to rebuild Goliaths as it is. The Goliaths need to have some very nice micro here to be able to get shots off on the carriers and not just the interceptors. That's what really matters here, but he's doing a good job of keeping them over the cliff, making micro very difficult for the Goliaths here. And I think the overwhelming number of carriers will eventually be able to just crush these Goliaths, as yes, they are now in the main, destroying the buildings. And I think that's going to be just about game for Terran. The one saving grace is that he has been able to build a lot more missile turrets and get a lot more saturated in his one only mining base. But he needs to find a space to build Goliaths, and there's just not enough room to build factories there. So I don't know how he's going to be able to produce anything off of that one base.
Yeah, not to mention that making factories is expensive. He doesn't have the cash to make units, let alone factories and then make units. He's only got 532 minerals, mining off one base. It's halfway decent, and it's kind of better than what the Protoss is doing at this stage. Protoss still has a big bank built up. He's got 5k and 9,500 gas there. Still got a huge fleet of carriers. I mean, all he'd need to do was walk a few units up to the top left-hand corner as soon as he had any free supply and just take that out, no problem whatsoever. Still trying to micro in the main base, and Terran doing a decent job managing to get a few more Goliaths out. Might be able to actually take care of 1 or 2 carriers, but I'm surprised. I'm looking around for science vessels. He does have 1 science vessel left at the top. He should get down there and EMP the carriers, because that is the one chance he has at doing any damage to the Protoss in the rest of this game. He might be able to get underneath the carriers right now, however, it looks like he might be able to focus them down, but choosing not to, choosing to back off instead, despite having a disadvantageous position. And one vulture decided to make peace in the middle of the map, sitting there in conjunction with a bunch of probes, now deciding to attack the Zealots. Carriers still wreaking havoc in the Terran's main base, and I think he's steadily losing his grip on this game. Alec, I don't know if there's any way back into it now. He needs to build more factories. At the very least, he's got 1 more factory up at the top left-hand corner. But he'll really struggle against any kind of decent ground aggression from the Protoss.
Yeah, definitely think you're right. The carriers have done all the damage they can, but look at, considering all the turrets and all the Goliaths that are there, just a very solid good army would be great at this point. He doesn't have the supply for it, obviously, as he has so much supply tied up in carriers, and I honestly wonder how much of his supply is in probes. Or did he kill off all his probes?
I think he might have done, although he might have just taken them down to the 6 o'clock, excuse me, because there's a lot of, but meanwhile he's going into the top left-hand base with the carriers, and I don't know if these carriers are going to be enough. Did we see an EMP go down? We did see an EMP go down on the carriers, so they're now looking very weakened. Don't know if there's enough missile turrets in there. We're soon going to find out. The missile turrets are blasting away, and it looks like the interceptors are being quite well thinned out. He's making as many as he can. His bank is steadily dwindling. He may just have enough in there. There's 1 Goliath kind of tricking out. He needs to get what remains of his Goliath army out from his main and over there absolutely ASAP in order to try and deal with these carriers. The EMP was a good idea, but he needs to follow it up with something more decisive. And it looks like the missile turrets are still steadily getting whittled away, and Protoss is going to have enough cash to continue replenishing his interceptors and most likely to close out this top left-hand base and therefore the game. Carriers moving a little bit too close there and actually being threatened by the missile turrets who can directly fire on the carriers if they so wish. But he's looking confident now. He's going to go in and try and take out the command center. The command center goes down. The Terran does have enough money into the bank to make another one, so it's not the be-all and end-all. And he does move in some more Goliaths and a few Dragoons going down as well. He has enough Goliaths to do some decent damage and another couple of science vessels with which to EMP as well. If he gets those Goliaths in there, he may be able to mount a decent defense. Looks like a lot of SCVs are going to be going down in just a second, however, and he's not being decisive enough with his Goliaths. They're just sitting there doing God knows what and finally deciding to move in, but it might be a little bit too late to actually do anything about this.
Yeah, laying down another EMP to give the Goliaths hope and actually dematrixing a couple of them, but the carriers are going to pull out. A lot of them are very injured, so he does have a good opportunity to actually get a couple of kills with dematrix Goliaths, but looks like he's only going to be able to get 1 before the carriers begin microing once again. He is managing to kill off a lot of these interceptors with the turrets, but it just does not matter because the Protoss still has a bank, although the map is almost completely mined out at this point with the exception of the top left bank. So if Protoss continues to be careless with the carriers like this, he actually won't have money to continue with the interceptors. He needs to actually finish the game right here, but most of the turrets have been taken out, so it would take in absolutely amazing micro from the Terran here to be able to continue to kill off these carriers as they go in once again completely filled up with interceptors, and there's just not enough turrets left to pick off interceptors at any kind of reasonable rate. Oh, and even though the Protoss is mined out, it's not going to matter because the Terran just cannot get up enough stuff. And there come there come the Dragoons to take out the turrets.
No GG.
No GG.
but Alec does get taken down. Zeron doing a very, very good job in that game. Feel he could have ended it a lot earlier. He was in a great position in the early game, and he just kind of maintained that all game. He could have been a lot more decisive in the mid game, but instead decided to take it to a long game. And to his credit, he did manage to close it out in the end. Some very, very odd stuff going on in there, though, in terms of his probe count. He was really held back by his lack of attention to detail, and I think he should definitely clean that up in future matches.
Indeed. Alright, game number 4. Oops, forgot password. There we go.
Okay, I am in. I'm just going to get the sponsor list up so I can do a bit of a shout out.
Go for it.
Okay, so what you're of course watching is the Amateur Star League. If you didn't know that already, you know that now. This is a special Star League to give all those guys from C- to C+ ranks a stab at stardom. So getting the game streamed and a little bit of a prize at the end as well. And it's actually become a very, very, very good competitive tournament. A lot of players putting in a lot of practice time, working very hard to do their best in this tournament. We've seen a good high standard play so far as well. And big thanks to our sponsors who have made this possible. Noise, Nibopolis, and Sale, putting in their own cash for the good of Brood War. Big thanks to those guys, and I hope you're all enjoying the stream today. Due to technical issues, we are on Hackleby's stream for this week only. Next week we'll be back on my stream. But we're ready to go into the next game now. Game 4, I believe, of this group.
Yep. Yeah, and I don't know who is going to be between. I assume it's the other 2 players, but not sure. Yes, it will be the other 2 players. Alright. So, if you would call it out, please.
I will indeed. Up at the top left-hand corner, we have Splax spawning in. No, at the top, yeah, top left-hand corner, we have Splax spawning in as the Brown Protoss. Did not want to get the wrong way around that time. And on the top right-hand corner, spawning in as, I'm just going to call him Beck. Beck, the yellow Protoss. So this is, of course, a PvP matchup, which I personally find very exciting. A lot of people tend to disagree, but I say this every time. It's a great matchup. Lots of interesting stuff can happen, and I thoroughly expect it to. This map, just taking a quick look at it now, we can see some good aggressive plays, pushing around and avoiding those nasty bridges. It is, of course, Circuit Breaker, and Speed Shuttle stuff can be quite strong in this map as well. Relatively long spawn distances mean that slow shuttle harass isn't so good, but speed shuttle can be very, very good, especially with good amount of high ground behind the natural as well, to make harassing over there just a little bit easier, and a lot of room to go into the main as well, so making harass very, very possible, and often leading to exciting games.
And this could be a deciding game here. If Splax does beat Agenbeck, we will have 2 players who are 2-0, 2 players that are 0-2, and regardless of the last set, we will know which 2 players will be advancing. But if Agenbeck is able to win, then anybody could theoretically advance, as we'll have a 2-0, 1-1, 1-1, and 0-2. So, the player who lost in our last game will be hoping that Agenbeck can win here and give him a chance to come back and hopefully continue his ASL run.
I'm just trying to remember what happened in game 1. I'm pretty sure Alec won, didn't he?
It was Splax versus Alec, and Splax was Protoss. Yeah. And it was the game where Protoss had 15k and went carriers, and the carriers didn't really work out, but he won anyway.
Medusa.
Yeah, that was...
Okay, yeah, getting confused with all this PvT going down.
It didn't help that one of the Terran players played Protoss in the last game.
Yeah.
So just mess with that.
It really messes with my head, I'm telling you. It's so easy to get these kind of things when you're trying to spin all these plays.
It also doesn't it also doesn't help that we have 4 players with nondescript names that are all hard to pronounce.
Yeah, that's really not helping matters at all. To pile on what's been difficult about this cast, it's getting too much for my poor brain. Both of these guys going for Zealot first builds. It looks like from the top left-hand corner we have a 1 Zealot build, whereas from Beck we have a 2 Zealot build, of course, making 1 Zealot, then making some. It looks like he's going to actually make a 3 Zealot build. Okay, so this could denote something a little bit more mid-game aggression heavy, because of course with 3 Zealots and 1 Dragoon you do have the possibility to push up a ramp. Even against 1 Zealot and 2 Dragoons you can make it work, and that's often a little bit of a risky but fascinating gambit we can see from the guys coming out. It looks like he may just make a second gateway though instead of making another Zealot, putting that pretty much out of the window. But he's going to go straight on to making a second Dragoon rather than making a first Dragoon rather than making a third Zealot. Whereas from the top left-hand corner of things, we have only one Zealot coming out before the first Dragoon, throwing down a pylon behind his mineral line as well to prevent any Zealots when they're harassing to go around the back there and escaping too easily. So that's probably a good idea from him. And throwing down another gateway as well. So this is going to be a more big Dragoon-orientated early game. Rather than going straight to any kind of attack. And from the top right hand corner, nothing revealing as of yet. Two Zealots out holding the ramp, and the Probe for some reason running out of the main base. Perhaps a slightly erroneous move, and producing up his first Dragoon now as well. Moving on completely standard fashion.
Yeah, both players went for early Zealots yet weren't aggressive, and that's not terribly uncommon to see at this level, as micro can be significantly harder for these players. So going for that early Zealot's just going to be really safe in case your opponent did go for some kind of 10-12 gate super strong aggression. It's just nice to have that early Zealot out, and while it's theoretically possible to go Goon first and still be able to hold on, it can in some situations be quite difficult. We see Robobags going down for both players at nearly identical times. Ajimbex is ever so slightly faster, as Splax went for two gateways instead of one. But we'll have to see what exactly they build off of that, whether they're going to go Observer first or Reaver first.
I think we're likely to see Reaver first from Beck, because of course he was in the base and saw that there was of course a second gateway down, so he's going to suspect that there is no DTs on the way, and indeed we do have a shuttle being laid down. It's interesting to see whether he does throw down an observatory in between, so not going for the super fast observers, trying to get his tech kind of well timed, and this is not going to sacrifice too much in terms of his Reaver timing, and it makes even more sense to consider that he might go for a speed shuttle, in which case, although he'd probably be throwing down the robotics support bay now rather than later so he can get that upgrade well on the way, trying to get a scout to the top left hand corner too, but denied by a couple of Dragoons. So Splax doing a good job of keeping Beck in the dark here.
Yeah, as you said, he did have the Observer in there, so he probably could have been able to get away with just going for Reaver first based off of no one-gate DT play, but still just going to play it safe anyway and get an Observer out relatively soon. Still Observer after the shuttle though, so the shuttle already started, and as soon as the Observer pops out, he can immediately start the Reaver and then be aggressive as soon as that Reaver comes out. Meanwhile, from Splax, he also will be going Observer first and has yet to throw down his Robo-Bay, so his Reaver might be significantly later, which can be quite a problem if your opponent's already at your front. Even if you do have the superior Goon count producing off of 2 gateways for a longer period of time, that Reaver does make such a difference if it is properly microed.
Yeah, a really, really big difference. I mean, you land a couple of big scouts in the middle of the Dragoon clump and the battle is changed forever. All those Dragoons are just going to be so incredibly weakened and are going to go down like flies. So that could be a very, very big potential advantage going into the mid game right here, and Splax is going to have to be right on the ball in order to really hold on to his earlier expansion with inferior tech as well. And it is going to be a scout finally for Ambek. He is going to get into the top left hand corner. He is going to see that there is an expansion on the way up. So this gives him good information which he's going to be able to make very, very good use of. So he should know by now that he's going to be able to take that Reaver and head on straight over. He does lift the Reaver up, and it looks like he's getting those 2 Dragoons out of his main as well in order to go for the full big aggression, leaving nothing behind, and just kind of throwing caution to the wind and heading out to do a big attack here. And this could go pretty well for him. We're going to see pretty even Goon counts, maybe with Splax slightly in the lead because he's got the defender's advantage. But for a little while here, Beck will have a decent timing window with which he can do a lot of damage to the front door of Splax.
This is definitely a very scary time, but it looks like he's going to try to go over the double bridge. That would be a huge mistake. He should just take the little bit of extra time to go up and around, because those Dragoons on the other side are going to be able to do a lot of damage. Is he really just going to wait here? No, it looks like he's just trying to draw the Dragoons out of position a little bit and lands the Reaver in the back. He needs to be very careful to not do too much, or not take too much damage. But no, re-picks up the Reaver and does manage to get one shot off on the Goons, but little damage done to either player. Is he really going to try to cross that double bridge?
I think he might. I think he's kind of hoping for those Dragoons to move out of position, but as far as I can tell, Splax's not looking too worried. Why would he? 2 Dragoons is definitely enough to deal with 1 Reaver and a shuttle if you micro it correctly, which Splax seems confident that he can do. And still no Nexus from Beck, which is really quite odd. This is going to be a very, very delayed Nexus, and this basically means he has to do good damage with these 2 Reavers. He has no choice. If he doesn't, then he's going to be so behind economically that it's going to be a real nightmare for him. 1 probe does somehow get out for Splax, so he's going to get a scout out on the map. That's going to be taken down by the 2 Dragoons laying in wait. And if if Beck picks a good engagement, what word am I trying to look for? Engagement situation right here, and pushes in along the flat ground, then he's got a very, very nice chance to bust right in here with those 2 Reavers and a shuttle. Definitely a superior army going into this engagement.
Yeah, he definitely does have a very nice window here. The first Reaver is out for Splax, but still needs to walk there, as Ajambek's going to be able to attack, and if he attacks right now, that Reaver will not be part of the battle. Splax is actually pulling back. He may, yes, it looks like he will just barely be able to get that Reaver in, and Ajambek needs to go in now. He still does have 2 Reavers and a shuttle comparatively. If he micros them correctly, he can do a lot of damage. He should probably focus on that Reaver immediately first. And very nice Scarab going down for Splax Reavers. He's doing a lot of damage with just the 1. Keeping it back is not being targeted down at all. That's a mistake from Ajambek. He's going to take a lot of damage from these Dragoons and Reavers, and he needs to pull back at this point, or fear that he's going to lose his shuttle. The Reaver is stepping forward for Splax fearlessly, and he did not target it down at all. That would have been so easy to snipe at the beginning with his own 2 Reavers. But no, it looks like he's going to lose everything. He does manage to just barely get out of there with an injured Reaver and injured shuttle. It still might go down. Yes, it still will go down. And that was that attack did not work out. And as you said, he really needed to do damage there, as that Nexus is so much faster. Ajambek still not started his own natural Nexus.
Yeah, we might see that Reaver get picked off now if these 2 reinforcement Dragoons get in there, and I think they're going to do exactly that, and that Reaver might not actually last very long. But what a mistake from Ajambek. He had the clear advantage going into that battle, but he left his Reavers too far behind, wasn't getting good Scarabs off, failed to target down his enemy's Reaver, and walked into a huge concave of Dragoons without trying to reposition his Dragoons or the enemy's Dragoons at all, which left him in a horrible engagement position. He's throwing up more gateways now to try some kind of desperate all-in, but he's not going to be able to have half the production facility that that Splax is going to have in just seconds. So unless he breaks now, which I can't imagine him doing, we've already got a second Reaver out for Splax, so he's in a decent position to defend, then I think he's not going to have a single leg to stand on. We see Splax going way ahead in supply right now, 66 to 46, and Ajambek pretty much throwing this game away.
Yeah, there were 2 things that really just hurt Ajambek there. The first thing, if he had attacked literally 7 seconds sooner, that Reaver would not have been able to get down the ramp to help out, and he would not have taken so many very painful shots on multiple Dragoons. And the second thing is, he just completely ignored the fact that his opponent had a Reaver, did not mark it down with his own Reavers, didn't even step forward with the Goons to snipe it off early, and allowing that Reaver just to do so much damage, it really hurt him in the end. He's going to go in for a little bit of Reaver harass here, but there's so many Dragoons already in the vicinity, it looks he's probably going to be taken out. The Dragoon's stepping forward, instantly sniped the shuttle. He's going to be able to pick off 2 probes, 3 probes, and a Dragoon, but nowhere near enough.
The shield battery coming into play there. Meaning if that Reaver survives, the Dragoons, despite completely targeting it down 100%, can't even touch it, just rehealing from the shield battery just as quickly as it likes. And now this is pretty much free reign for Splax to push out. He can just finish this with his Dragoons alone. He's going to be heading over to Ajambek's natural, and he's going to be able to do all the damage he wants. He's going to be at very least able to completely deny any kind of expansion. Not that Beck is committed to anything of the kind. He's pretty much entirely committed to a 1-base play at this kind, and he might actually be able to mount a decent defensive, but throwing away yet another Reaver. He's gone through so many in this match, I've kind of lost count, and Splax somehow forced to retreat. Ajambek putting up a good number of Dragoons here because he's gone all in 4-gate 1-base with Reaver to back him up as well, but he just managed to throw away another of his Reavers. So he really doesn't have the strength he needs to push out here, and Splax with 2 Reavers simply just walking out onto the map. One of them's probably going to get picked off quite easily, but the second one will not go down so simply, and it looks like Beck is going to be forced back across the map once again, and Splax is just encroaching further and further, and any second now he's going to have all the units he wants to just bust straight in there and take this game for himself.
Yeah. That all-in is not going to. It doesn't look like it's going to work out for Ajambek, and I don't think there's anything he can do to transition out of this. He needs to have an amazingly lucky micro engagement here, where he picks off the shuttle with 2 Reavers in it, and he actually picks off the shuttle pretty easily. But no, Splax is going to be able to drop both of his Reavers. So, and as long as those Reavers are alive, there's just really nothing that Ajambek can do. Splax even looking around with the probe just to make sure there's not a hidden expansion somewhere, as he saw that there's no natural nexus still. And Splax is taking a hidden expansion of its own in the bottom left.
Yeah. I mean, I guess Splax can't have been all that cost effective, because we can see that I guess, having said that, his supply count is so so far ahead of Beck's supply count right now, but he hasn't been hugely cost effective. He should be a lot more ahead right now than he is. He's been mining off one extra base against the one base of Beck for quite some time now, and he really isn't looking hugely commanding. I mean, he's looking like he's definitely got this. He's got 3 Reavers out and he's defending with all of them, and because he knows that if he defends, he wins, and it's really that simple. But I feel a little bit of mismanagement on his part. He's lost a lot of Reavers unnecessarily, and now going for the engagement, Beck is going to try one last desperate all-in ditch attack, dropping the Reaver down in front finally, so getting a decent engagement position for that, but all his Dragoons are surrounded. 3 Reavers coming in now for Splack's going to absolutely make mincemeat of the rest of this Dragoon. Now imagine snipe out the Reaver as well. The shuttle goes down, and that is going to be it in this game for Beck. Destroyed blue goo everywhere, and we're going to go on to the next game quite soon here, I think. Just as soon as Beck decides it is indeed over. He's continuing to persevere, fair play to him, but I think this is turning into a little bit of an interesting case of failed GG timing. Splack's just knowing all he has to do is hold on. He'll be just fine. He should probably transfer some probes over to his third base though, and that'll really let him seal the deal just as quickly as he likes.
Yeah, he might have even forgotten about the third base. He really doesn't even need it. He's eventually going to be able to just produce enough Dragoons to move across if he doesn't want to use his Reavers, but he has so many Reavers that it looks like now he's moving across. Still doesn't have a huge Dragoon force, so a lot of them can be killed here before the Reavers can get into the engagement. Looks like he's going to lose 2, and that Scarab not going to quite reach.
No.
But yeah, it's now Adenbeck's push back on his back foot. Desperate attempt to defend, but has so few units to do so with. Actually going forward with 4 of his own Dragoons. He's going to be able to snipe a shuttle? Oh, no.
Maybe. No, not quite. And the Reavers do manage to get dropped down. Going to land some nice Scarabs. Finally, the surround from Splax means that these Dragoons are going to get cleared up. And I can't imagine that there's any reason for Adenbeck to stay in the game at this point. And Splax just needs to push on into this natural and get the job done. They're being a little bit careless with the shuttle there, almost losing it, but just managing to remember it in time. Going to land some nice Scarabs, and finally going to be able to destroy the last of Beck's army. GG from our yellow Protoss.
Alright, so that means that Splax is 2-0, Zarin is 2-0, and they will be advancing. But we are going to cast the rest of the games? Yes?
I think we're going to cast the rest of this group, yeah.
Alright.
If you so wish.
Let's do it then. Game number 5 on Medusa. This is Alec versus Adenbeck. Okay. So, this is a game for pride. Both these players are 0-2. One of them will not get a single win in their group, and neither player wants to be in that position.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll do a little bit of explanation again before I call out the names in this game. For anyone who's not quite sure what they're watching, I know you think you'd usually be watching my stream at this point, but I'm having critical issues, i.e. my XSplit is not working at all. So very, very kindly, Hacklebeast has agreed to come on and allow me to co-cast this with him instead of doing a solo cast. Should be all back to normal by next week, but that is the deal for this week. And big thanks to Hacklebeast for being so cool and letting this happen. So this map is of course going to be Neo Medusa, and yes, a friendly game. Both these players already going out. Alec spawning in the top left hand corner as the blue Terran, and in the bottom of the map, roughly kind of the 7 o'clock position, spawning in as the orange Protoss is Beck, which is what I'm going to call him as long as Beck. Burning the cheese. Play to win. Why not? Play to win. This is a game for pride. You don't get pride unless you win. So yeah. All's fair in love and war, and also StarCraft.
Gotta love that 84 APM. 83 APM, good stuff. But yeah, once again we're gonna have a TVP on Medusa. The positions are reversed, and if this does go towards a little bit more lengthy of a game, that is definitely gonna help out the Protoss. Just because the temples guarding the Protoss's back door are in a little bit more of an awkward position for the Terran to get to. And it does take a good number of siege tanks to take them out. If you want to do that earlier in the game, that's a significant portion of your army that isn't exactly defending against Protoss attacks up the front. So he has to be a little bit more creative about if he wants to incorporate that into his strategy.
Yeah, we do have a 2-gate happening right now from our Protoss player. It's quite interesting to see a straight-up Zealot 2-gate against a Terran opponent. I'm not quite sure if this wall-in is good for our Terran player. It doesn't look like it's good. But if he makes a supply depot back behind the barracks and the already made supply depot, then it might be okay. Sending an SCV out to get the scouting information done, he's going to head to the wrong place on the map, so both guys are going to scout each other last. Not too much of a problem since it's only a 3-player map, but it would of course be pretty nice for the Terran if you could get out and see what's going on. I'm not quite sure what... Okay, the SCV is going to the right place. Okay, I thought it was going all the way to the bottom right hand corner, and maybe he didn't know the map properly. I'm very, very curious to see whether this wall-in is functional, because it's going to be a very, very important factor. If 1 or 2 zealots get through, then that's going to instantly make complete havoc within the Terran main. So we'll see in just a second if that pro can get through. If the pro can get through, then a zealot can get through. That is the general rule. And the Terran's still unaware of what's going on. And this is some really extremely strange play. Also throwing down a pylon. Yeah. I don't know why he's done that.
No idea. It's not clear at all. I don't know what he was planning on it, and I don't know whether he was planning on the Terran to immediately find it either. But Terran saw it, probably slightly confused why there was a epoxy pylon this early, so far away from his own base. But regardless, the SCV will now go in the correct direction and find out...
It's going to be cannons. It's going to be cannons to break the Protoss in here. And this can actually work quite well. It looks very, very strange. But this can actually be a really, really weird and strong strategy, especially on this kind of map. And he needs to make sure he gets this done before the siege tanks come in, and that's going to be well on the way already. The factory well over halfway done. First photon cannon gets laid down, however, and this is the telling moment. Can Beck break in time, or will he be thwarted by the Terran?
Alright, gotta love it. Not only going for a 50 APM cannon rush, but going for a 50 APM cannon rush that you announce to your opponent at the beginning of the game. I am going to cheese you. No shame at all, and the cannons are warping in. Luckily, Alec didn't go for a fast CC build, instead went for the faster factory, so it won't be too long before the siege tanks get out. There is a bunker behind it. I don't think the cannons can quite reach the bunker. Actually, is that a second bunker? That is a second bunker going down. You're going to be able to snipe the barracks, though, as the barracks, I don't think is going to be able to quite fly away fast. Oh, I think the SCV might have distracted it enough. And yeah,
just...
so the barracks will be able to get away. Multiple SCVs coming to repair it. And Zealot run by, coming in, past the bunkers. They might be able to snipe off a tank if the tank gets a little bit too far out, but these are slow lots. It's going to be very difficult to micro them against a much faster tank. And let's see what Ajambek's micro is like, exactly what he's going to try to do.
Yeah, he's just got to stay in there and try and pick off as many SCVs as possible. On a slight tangent, this is the way to play if you're already dead. Why would you ever play a straight up standard normal game if you're already dead? It's like your last day on Earth, and you know it, and what do? You go to work, you go to home, you have supper, you clean your teeth, and you go to bed. No, you don't do that. You cheese like crazy. You do something mad, and this is exactly what Ajambek's doing here. Giving us a little bit of entertainment, and now, however, Alec does have a tank out. He's managed to completely stop mining at the Terran's main base for all this time, and picked off a fair number of SCVs in the process as well, and still sieging down the bunkers at the front with a photon cannon.
Why isn't that bunker shooting at the photon cannon that's warping in?
There's nothing in the near one.
There's nothing in the near one, but I think I don't know why I didn't realize the range was that small.
Well, bunkers actually have quite impressive range because of course they increase the range of Marines, which is very, very weird. But either way, he should probably try and move his Marines out there, because these bunkers are not going to be lasting. There is finally a siege tank up, but will this bunker last long enough? No, it looks like he's going to divert his fire to the SCV, so that's probably it for this cannon rush, now that we finally have a siege tank out. But it's done some decent damage.
It's done a lot of damage.
Yeah, it's done a lot of damage, and he's got a cybernetics core on the way up now as well, so he's going to have Dragoons out fairly soon. And I'm so curious to see how he progresses with this. All the while, the Zealots are going to decide to dash in, and are going to have a little bit of a crack at the siege tank, I think. I think it's probably a little bit futile, given the cannons are already down. But still going for it. You got to admire his guts, I suppose. Just going in to try and do a little bit more economic damage. Going to have a bit of a crack at the SCVs. Shouldn't be able to do too much damage if our Terran player micros this correctly. A couple more Zealots coming up from the back as well. So he's continuing to reinforce this. And yeah, he's all in on this, and he's going for the Citadel of Adun now as well. So it's going to be either DTs or Speed Zealots. Which one is it going to be? It's anyone's guess at this point.
Yeah, I'd have to assume it's DTs, and if you look, he has done quite a bit of damage to the economy. There's about 10 SCVs left for Alec, and Ajambek's continuing to run in with these Zealots here. I don't know if that's necessarily the best decision, because he's not getting a lot of further damage with it. He's now building a gateway at the cannons in the front so that those DTs can get there just that much faster. And if Alec doesn't get detection, that will probably be the game. He does have an engineering bay up, but oh, he is now starting the turret.
Yeah, so I think if Beck's head is well screwed on, he would probably switch over to a big speed lock burst at this point, and that's exactly what he's doing.
Oh, wow.
Throwing down the Zealot leg speed. So that's actually pretty much the right decision. Upon scouting the engineering bay, he says, right, okay, so DT's not going to work. I'm just going to make a lot of cheap stuff and throw it at you, which is fair, you know, it can work. And yeah, this could actually work out kind of well for him. That gateway is probably going to end up unpowered fairly soon, and there's not really too much he can do about it. And now he needs to really be saving up his Zealots to stockpile for that one big attack, and should probably throw down another gateway in his main as well if he's going to make this truly effective.
Dead even supply at 24 apiece. Rather similar saturation. I think Terran has a little bit more, but it's kind of deceptive because SCVs are just bulkier to be guessing it off of just looks. And yeah, this is going to be an interesting bust attempt. The 30 to 40 supply speedlock goon attack. Yeah, it's going to be hard though. There is a lot of SimCity out there to keep those Zealots away from the siege tanks and double bunkers, especially if he continues to populate them. I think it might be smart to take one of those Marines out of the bunker, put it at the other one, so that they can't just focus on one. But engineering bay floating out, it's actually going to see what is going on. Or at least it probably will be able to see what's going on. To see a lot of the units coming out. Speed is done, so as soon as he sees a moving Zealot, he will see that speed.
Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be too hard for Ambek to hold off and not let him scout that. There is a Vulture, however, being repaired somewhat audaciously outside there, but now the big attack comes in, the speed's out dashing, but he doesn't have enough. There's no way that this could be enough units, but he's going in for it anyway, taking out one siege tank on his way, going to be able to take out another one soon as well, but he's going to be running out of speed lots already. You need the mass. This attack is all about quantity over quality. You just need lots of speed Zealots, and this is nowhere near enough. All the Zealots going down, both the Dragoons going with it as well. He's got a couple of units moseying around in the middle of the map, just doing a little bit of fun and games, taking care of one of the Vultures. And Alec only with one siege tank left. Maybe Beck has another bite at the apple here. He might have one more decent attack in him to try and take this game.
I think Ajenbeck jumped the gun a little bit. He got supply blocked, and he had to throw down another pylon, and I think he figured, well, might as well throw it down now. But no, as you said, he definitely needed more units. I don't think he realizes exactly how close it is. It's 31 supply compared to 27.
Yeah.
And both players trying to expand off of this. I'm really surprised Ajenbeck's trying to expand. I thought he was just going to go all in with this, but no. He's gonna throw down the Nexus. That's interesting.
Yeah, well, I suppose that's fair, because how is the Terran gonna move out? He's got bunkers.
Yes,
he can't move bunkers, so he's just in a defensive position. He's pretty much stuck that way, and that can produce a decent number of units, enough easily to hold off a few siege tanks and one or two Vultures. So I think this is actually a pretty logical decision. He needs to start up his probe production again, though, because he has not produced probes for quite some time. We can see how tiny his economy is right now. A Vulture coming in as well, making life a little bit difficult. And the Dragoon range only just started, so that, of course, means that these Dragoons are going to have a very tough time getting rid of that Vulture. The Vulture does make it away after getting all the way through Protoss main, having a bit of a crack at the probes, and feeling very, very smug with itself. I still can't explain that pylon on the right-hand side for the life of me. I don't know what that's for, and I probably never will, but it doesn't look like it's going to see use in this game.
Yeah, and you've put a really interesting point that he's still not making probes. And it's weird, considering how few probes he has, that he's still going to have that Nexus fully up, of which he's not building probes from there either. He's focusing all 75 of his APM right now trying to defend his forward gateway, but I don't think it's going to quite work out. The bunkers are down, and the speed lots are going to be able to get pretty close to the tanks. Actually, there are more speed lots than I thought. They were being covered up by the command center. Oh, wow. He's going to be able to kill two of the siege tanks. He's now attacking the third one, and he's going to try to micro, but speed lots can chase it pretty effectively. More units coming in. Did Alec try to expand too quickly? Wow. He did. It's
very, very possible. We have the Dragoons coming in here. They're going to try and do the damage. They're going to try and take out the siege tank. They're probably actually going to succeed. Does Ambek have anything more coming in? Wow. He is producing more Dragoons. He still has that forward gateway surviving somehow. And he's taking out SCVs. He does have units in there. He is doing damage. He could actually have this. We have tanks being pumped by Alex out of that one factory which is capable of doing so. Surprisingly, he's not making any Vultures. Now he's making some Vultures. And this is probably going to finally be cleaned up. but managing to take out a fair number of SCVs. The SCV count is still looking weak. And a big scare there for Alec. Ambek, if he'd have microed a little bit better, he might have actually had it right there. Now producing probes again and getting his economy back into a good shape, I think he's actually doing all right. He's definitely not out of this game.
Not by any means, only down by 7 supply. He's making a wall out of his command center and he is long distance mining from it as he builds SCVs. I can't explain it, but he needs some kind of wall, I guess, to try to make sure that his opponent doesn't get in here. He's going to be able to take out these pylons, but there's definitely a nice cushion. Ajabek doesn't need to worry about being supply blocked again. And he has resumed probe production. So it looks like he is stopping his insane all-in, and both players are just going to go for an economic follow-up to all of these shenanigans.
I never thought I'd hear you say that in this game. An economic follow-up to cannon cheese, followed by a speed lot all-in. An economic follow-up of all things you can do. This is the one situation in which an economy play is crazy. It's crazy. It's out there because you just wouldn't have ever expected to see this. And his economy is actually looking decent now. He's got 40 supply, he's got a decent number of probes mining. He's still only 7 supply behind the Terran. So, yeah, all is not lost, and he's making up some weird and wonderful tech. He's making a Stargate. So is he going to continue the cheese fest, and is he going to make carriers, or is he going to go straight to arbiters? He's still not mining gas at his main very effectively. He's only got one guy mining gas. I think he'd probably better spot that before he tries to get his tech really underway, because otherwise that's going to be a huge amount of trouble. And already we can see he's building up a lot of minerals with no gas in the bank at all. So unless he spots that, this is going to make his tech path very, very unviable, whatever it is. And I hope he gets onto it.
A very nice scan went down directly on the Stargate.
Oh.
So I still don't know exactly what he's planning on. Literally anything is on the table, be it arbiters, be it carriers. Scouts not completely out of the realm of possibilities for this game. And I don't know, but I'm trying to compare this to like a normally timed game, and it almost looks like a normal game, with the exception of Terran has more factories than normal, and Protoss got speed before observers. But other than that, it's almost like it was a normal game.
Yeah, Terran is actually pretty weak on the SCV count as well, and supply
carriers
to boot. It's carriers. Okay, so it really needs the gas. Okay, he is mining gas in his main property again. So yeah, basically just throwing caution to the wind, as he has done this entire game. He's making up the carrier tech to try and catch his Terran by surprise, which is, again, all he's done all game. Catching the Terran by surprise has been his thing. It's not going to work though. That tech is going to be continually scanned from now until Kingdom Come. This Terran is not going to be caught by surprise at all. And I think that's probably going to be Ambek's downfall here. He's going to have so much trouble. He's going to have so much trouble dealing any damage with completely scouted, super early mid-game tech.
Yeah, there is some good opportunities for carriers on this map, but when the Terran has such a head start on you and can produce Goliaths at any point, in fact, one Goliath is already being produced, it's going to be so hard to do damage with the relatively few carriers you can get off of only 2 gases. It will be 3 bases, but the gas is going to be more of the limiting factor in this regard. Vulture's coming in. It looks like they're just going to lay a bunch of mines. He actually has some pretty good mine spreads at the beginning, on the outside. The Dragoons could take a lot of hits if he was to move out for whatever reason.
Well, I guess we're going to see if these carriers are going to be good enough. I mean, we all know they're a useful skill toy have. Got to have the carriers, but I don't know if they're quite that good. I don't know if he's got the economy to support a carrier fleet right here, especially now if he starts losing interceptors en masse, as he will if enough Goliaths get out. And already the Goliath production is in full force now, with a few already chilling into natural. I'm just looking for the Charon booster upgrade as well, which is indeed happening about halfway done. So there is no way that the Terran can be more clued up or more prepared for what's going to be coming his way.
Well, I want to see it. I want to see that amazing carrier micro back and forth over all these cliffs. But it's going to actually be quite a while before he gets a good number of carriers. He's about to have 3, but 5 is still a ways off, and it's not worth it only moving out with 3. He's moving forward with these Dragoons to play out some mines, which is nice, given that he doesn't have much else to do. But the Terran has such a large force at this point, compared to the Protoss, who has a larger supply, but a lot of his supply is tied up in carriers he can't quite use yet. And it looks like these units are going to be taken out pretty easily, and I don't know how he's going to be able to defend this large Terran attack.
Yeah. The Terran is basically probably just going to be able to steamroll him right now. Because he's got nothing more than a handful of speed zealots and Dragoons to try and defend this. He's going to do the dashing in thing, which he's been doing all game, and has served him well up till now, but 2 or 3 speed zealots really not going to be enough. He'd have to have a whole cloud of them at this point to really deal with this effectively, and this is probably going to be game over. He's going to have to bring his 2 carriers into the fray, which are going to do no damage whatsoever because there's a good number of Goliaths in there already with the Charon Booster upgrade in. No upgrades as yet. It's not going to matter. 2 carriers, not too scary. Waving them around a little bit in his main base. He's got a decent number of gateways up, so a little bit later, and he may have actually had a chance of defending this, but all his probes are now going down. His natural expansion is going to go down pretty much with no contest, and as his carriers come in, this is pretty much just keeping on life support and not too much else.
Yeah, he's not even in a very good position. He doesn't even have a very good position to micro the carriers from. The Goliaths can step forward, and there's not a good impassable terrain really for the carriers to hide behind. They could kind of go over here, but then the Goliaths can almost ignore them. The Nexus is now going to be going down. The Robo goes down, and I think they're going to just wait until they finish the assimilator before moving in. But there's little that Ajambek can do at this point. He is going to be able to get out carrier number 3 before forced to fight again, but he actually doesn't even have time to get enough interceptors for it to really matter. Oh, man.
Yeah, he's doing his dashing in thing again. Gonna try and take out a couple of Goliaths for the speed zealot numbers. Might get a few of them due to splash damage if he's lucky, and the carrier's now coming in, taking out 1 or 2 Goliaths, and the Dragoon's gonna have a bit of a crack as well, but they're not gonna last very long. And the carriers are going to be taken down in very, very short order here. No upgrades on them whatsoever, so they're really incredibly weak in every aspect. And the Terror is just steamrolling on in here, and Alec is definitely going to be able to take this game. So pride is going to be his, and Onbeck is officially screwed. The GG goes down, and out he goes. Both players dropping out in the group stage, but with a very ridiculous yet creditable performance in that final game. You got to give him credit. That was good stuff.
It was. That sure was a thing. That sure was a thing. Alright.
Yeah, that was some seriously good stuff. More games like that, guys. Don't try and win. Just try and be crazy.
Yeah. Clearly, that's how we should be based on our league. Every game is just going to be judge's decision as to who the winner was. Doesn't actually matter who GG's.
Yeah.
Alright, final game is up.
I'm on my way. Okay, I'm ready.
Alright. So, the final game will be Zeren versus Splax, the 2 players who are undefeated in their groups. They both will be advancing, but one of them needs to do it perfectly, and one of them just needs to do it 2-1.
Yeah, they just play for placement at this point, so whatever happens, both these guys are going to go through, both of them are going to be feeling good. At the beginning of this game, I would like to thank our sponsors, who are, of course, Noise, Nobopolis, and Sale, for putting up their hard-earned money to keep this tournament going. Big thanks to them, because this is one of the better tournaments we've seen in recent times. It's great to have something to play for the yellow rank players. And all the while, on the left-hand side spawning in as the yellow Protoss, we have Splax, and on the right-hand side spawning in as the orange Terran, we have Zeren. I've got to say, I love saying that name, Splax. One of the weirdest names I've ever seen. Splax. It's great.
Splax.
Who wouldn't like that?
Alright. So, once again, we're going to have a TVP on this map. Both players have been pretty strong this game. With the only thing that we can say is that Zeren tends to build too many probes when he is Protoss, but he is Terran, so probably won't be as much of an issue this game.
No, I mean, Terran often somehow weirdly seems to be more short of SCVs. I guess it's a little bit harder to hotkey your command centers or something in the late to mid game, because as Protoss it's easy, you just stick them on 8, 9 and 0 and you got free access to them, but going 1S, 2S, 3S is inconvenient because you want your lower control groups for your unit, so I don't know if that plays any kind of a factor. But either way, we'll see how that comes into things. The map is, of course, Heartbreak Ridge. It's a shame that we're not going to be seeing Cannon Rush on this map, because, of course, Cannon Rush is quite possible on this map, because you've got that interesting high ground outside the natural, so Cannon Rush can happen. We've even seen it all the way up to Pro League level in the past. We've seen it work all the way up to that level in the past as well. I remember famously BC doing it in one game, and I believe he actually won that match too, even when it looked like he failed. But we're not going to be seeing anything like that. These guys are going to play for wins.
Yeah. Interesting that he's not putting the barracks wall at the front, but putting it pretty far back. He's also getting the refinery, so it looks like he wants to go for fast, going for a fast tank, which is all the more reason why you should have a wall at the front, just to be more defensive. See if Splax can possibly take advantage of that.
Yeah.
As he didn't go Zealot first, but Cybercore is on the way, so First Dragoon should be up pretty fast.
Yeah, that Cybercore, I don't think he's going to be able to do too much damage. I mean, it's quite easy on this map for Terran to kind of bait the Protoss in a little bit, and then it's not too hard to really hold off, even if there's 1 or 2 Dragoons inside the main, because with tanks you can kind of run away, you can use the SCVs to block, and SCVs, as I've already mentioned, and I try to mention as often as possible because I grind on this fact so much, but SCVs are really, really good against Dragoons. I mean, they're scary stuff, so I would imagine the Terran's going to be okay unless the Protoss goes really, really big aggression. It doesn't look like he's going to do so, not throwing down a second gateway and not banking minerals for that purpose, just going for the one gateway range so far.
Every Protoss has that one terrible day when they get into their opponent's space with 5 goons, and then they realize that they haven't won anything because the opponent can just kill them off with SCVs, and then you just want to stop playing StarCraft.
Yeah,
I certainly remember that game. Oh, the first time that happened. Anyway, it looks like the probe will be able to get out. And does that his machine shop manners his gas?
No, I don't think so. I think it just...
Yes, it does.
Well, a little bit, but not too much. It's not, like, disastrous. It's really weird. If you build a cybernetics core slightly to the right of your gas, I believe, then all the workers just freak out for no reason. They go all the way around the gas. It's an absolute nightmare. And sometimes you just do it absent-mindedly, and then you have to deal with that, and you have to have about 5 probes on gas from the very beginning. Stuff just goes a bit weird like that. So it is a slight manner. Not too bad, and Zeran, I think, spots this and is slightly peeved at this turn of events. Meanwhile, on the other side of things, we do have a robo happening in 2 gates also, so this is going to be pretty heavy stuff. It could even be a bulldog strategy at this point. Slight bit of supply blockage going down, so that pylon's a little bit late for Splax, but he's going to get away with it, able to make up 2 more Dragoons now, and just about spend that bank he's got built up.
Yeah, if he is going to go for a bulldog, that's quite a mistake to stop production there for a while, because you need that first attack to be as absolutely strong as possible. So
yeah,
he is
as quick as possible.
So he has relatively fewer goons than he should, trying to pull them back to stop the SCV, but no, he would have been better off just microing them back. It does manage to kill it off though. I think it only just saw the gateway. Anyway, Splax heading up here with a probe. I think it's just scouting out. For a,
maybe, yeah.
Just to make sure there's not a proxy factory there, so you can lift in vultures, as that is a strategy for this map. Well,
I was suspicious for a second there because he had nearly 400 minerals in the bank, but then he immediately spent it. So no hidden bases. And as far as hidden bases go, that one has been done so many times that that's just going to get scouted immediately anyway. So would not be the best idea. It's pretty much just giving away 400 minerals.
Oh, well, there go the first true Dragoons.
Oh no! Oh no!
Oh.
And he's going to throw away a couple more as well.
No.
He's much further. Oh, it's looking so incredibly risky. That mine just out of range of those Dragoons right there, but they are treading a very, very thin line right now. Looks like he's not too intent on repairing that bunker, so probably going to be drawing the Dragoons in a little bit more. I really, really hope that Splax is wise this. He definitely should be, but it looks like maybe he's not. Oh no! Was that a micro attempt? Or was that just a mistake? We may never know, but either way, it didn't really pay off and losing most of the health on his Dragoons. And all the while we have a big vulture harass coming into the main base, dropped in from the high ground, and he's going to do so much damage. He's going to lay down a few mines right here, and he's going to be able to run around the back as well, and that's just going to delay the Dragoons if nothing else. We do already have observers out, but these vultures could do an awful lot of damage. It looks like he doesn't actually have many mines left. He has... Okay, he did have 1 or 2 mines left, but that vulture then went down, and this is not actually going to do too much damage. So actually doing a decent job there. Splax managing to defend without losing too much, but it's kind of negated by the fact that he's lost a few Dragoons and is threatening to lose these second two at the Terran's natural.
Yep.
Terran's command center very, very late, however, and that means he's really got to do a bit more damage with this harass. That first harass really not doing too much. Nice probe up there on the high ground. We're going to be able to scout out this dropship, and I don't know why the dropship's going in because it's empty. I don't know what he thinks he's going to be able to achieve because that dropship's got nothing in it. It looks like it might actually get taken down by these Dragoons, just managing to escape, but that is one of the least explicable moves I think I've ever seen in a game of StarCraft.
I think that Protoss is almost going to be mining off of a third base before Terran is mining off of their natural. And yeah, Splax was quite lucky that not only did he happen to have a goons just in a good location as they were trying to move out, but also his observer flew over that location just as the dropship was coming in, so he had a little bit of a warning and could pull the goons back even sooner. That difference of having that observer there just at that time really makes a huge difference because the vultures could have done a lot of damage in just a few seconds without those goons constantly chasing them.
Yeah.
Is he going to run into the mine? No, it looks like he's not going to run into the mine.
He might do. He might be tempted though, although he's probably going to be alright about that with that mine. They'll probably be able to get one shot off before it lands, and that should be just about enough. So that might not going to be too much of a problem. The vultures still maintaining a decent presence, but now only just transferring SCVs out to the natural. This Terran is very, very, very behind on expansion timings. The Protoss's third base is almost up already, and so throughout the troubles of the early game, Splax seems to be coming out well on top of this.
Yeah. Both players finished their expansion, but Protoss, as we said, is on 3 compared to Terran's only 2. And Terran's now throwing down a lot of factories. 4 factories right now. They'll bring it up to 5. So might be able to get some kind of aggression off of that. Is repairing the dropships, so I wouldn't be surprised to see another attempt with vultures or possibly siege tanks being dropped up on this high ground. That can be a very hard position for Protoss to deal with.
Yeah, it definitely can do. I mean, I think the Protoss is commanding enough at this stage where he can shut down all possibilities. I mean, he's got complete control over pretty much all the ramps on this map, so he can take up high ground wherever he likes, and should be able to shut down pretty much every possible avenue of aggression that the Terran can put out, unless the Terran is very, very, very sneaky with dropship paths or maybe something even a little bit more inventive. I think it's a bit of an error to completely wall off that bottom left-hand expansion for our Protoss player because, oh no, excuse me, he has mined out the back minerals, so he should be able to get some Dragoons around there to defend, but I think that's a bit of a mistake. That's going to mean that his first response is a little bit delayed, and those vultures are going to have a decent enough window to actually do some damage to the probes if they can get all the way over there, however, because there are a few Dragoons taking up a decent position in order to see off any dropship, and the dropship might run straight into trouble right here. It looks like he's heading directly for the Dragoons. Oh no, why isn't he laying down? He doesn't have any scan. Okay, we might have a massive mine hit. Oh, almost having a massive mine hit go down in the natural mineral line of our Terran player, and all the while the Dragoons might be able to pick off the dropship. No, the dropship does make it through. He's going to land down a couple of vultures and a siege tank as well. And it looks like Terran managing to escape without too much calamity at his natural 2, but almost a massive mine drag going off in the middle of all his stuff. And a sensible decision. Oh no, and the dropship gets sniped out as well. And we see that it is in fact a very sensible decision to mine out those back minerals because he can now get around there and take out these vultures without losing pretty much a single probe. And the dropship going down as well means that this is a very, very sticky situation for Terran to be in.
Yep, very nice defense by...
Oh! Big mine.
Very nice defense by Splax there. Getting a little bit fortunate that he's able to catch the siege tank while still in the dropship. Now dropping his final 2 units, trying to do a little bit of damage here, but really having trouble just because the Dragoon and the Zealot can't quite kill SCVs very quickly. And it looks like the shuttle will be taken... Nope, not quite taken out. Pretty close. There we go. Finally killed off.
We'll get taken out.
And did he shoot a supply depot? He did shoot a supply depot. But yeah, not terrible amounts of damage done from either player, but that's still going to favor Protoss. And what? Splax just started a Corsair. Splax just started a Corsair, but there's no fleet beacon, so TWeb isn't coming for a while.
That's very weird. I don't know if that must be purely for scouting purposes, because of course Corsairs are good and fast and they can take quite a few missile turret shots. It is a bit weird because usually you only see a Corsair produced when there are no observers out on the map, because it serves as a much cheaper way of actually taking some kind of scouting when you're going for a super fast arbiter or a carrier build. And all the while, Terran decides that it's time to do a little bit of a push, and this could be an effective timing for him. He's laid down plenty of mines, going to be able to take out 1 or 2 Dragoons on the way in, losing a few too many vultures there, so his first line of defense is quite diminished there, but some more vultures going in from the back, and he's actually got a good position on the Protoss' third. If he were to come in with a dropship now, I think that would be quite effective, and he could do some harass on the main and even the natural, and he might be able to catch Protoss quite off guard. And if we were attacking in a two-pronged fashion, he's just going to push on here, very, very thin on siege tanks, so he needs to get some reinforcements up just as soon as possible. He's got a few siege tanks sitting AFK in the middle of the map, and if they were with his push, then that'd be a pretty big deal. The Protoss trying to push in and out a little bit here, but he's going to just take some hits and have to back off again, trying to recollect himself. He does not have zealot speed yet, so this probably isn't going to be the best idea. Those 3 siege tanks going to be able to do a lot to all of these Dragoons right here. There could be blue goo everywhere in just a second, but he's going to go for it, and this could actually be pretty effective for our Protoss player. Those siege tanks are not enough, and why does he not have the reinforcements coming? Okay, finally the reinforcements are coming up to join him now, but I think they're going to be a bit too late. Doing some decent damage to the Protoss force, sieging up some more reinforcements back there. However, he needs to lay down a lot of mines in order to actually hold off this vastly superior Dragoon count here. The Zealots coming in, but still no fast Zealots means that they're going to eat mines and die pretty rapidly. And are there enough siege tanks back here to take care of these Dragoons? This is a critical moment at which all the Dragoons can suddenly melt, and it looks like they're doing just that. Great job by the Terran there, just somehow managing to hang on. And with reinforcements now, he can still have some football. What happened? What happened?
Oh, a mine had hit 6 Dragoons all at the same time, killing 3 of them.
Oh, more big mines going off. So many mines, taking care of the complete Protoss army, and the Protoss' entire army is finished. He's in complete disarray here, being forced back, and the Terran doing a great job of getting a decent push out. This Protoss army is completely finished, and I don't know if he's got any way back into this. There's so many vultures pouring into his natural, laying down mines. It's going to make life very, very difficult. He's going to start picking off probes any second now as well. He's going to be able to push continually on into the third, and how he's made a success of this, I do not know. I think this was a massive, massive mistake from our Protoss player. He got so cocky and started Corsair production when he hadn't even won the game yet. I don't know quite what he was thinking, but this was not a viable strategy for him, and it looks like he's going to have a hard time going into the rest of this game. He's going to lose at the very least his third base and a lot of probes here as the siege tanks start bearing down on the stacks of probes as they try and evacuate.
Oh man. I don't even know. He did finally get the fleet beacon. He has what looks like 4 Corsairs here, but I don't even know if they have D-Web. I don't even know if D-Web would really help him out here, but yeah.
No.
Taking mine hit that hit 6 Dragoons is bad. Going into that engagement, taking a mine hit that hit 8 Dragoons all at the same time was also not good. He is just having a terrible time with mines at this point, and it is going to be close whether he can actually take out this Terran force, because 2 siege tanks guarding that choke are still going to be quite effective. Yeah, it looks like he's spreading out the goons enough though that he will be able to take out. He will be able to take out the siege tanks. He will be able to keep that base alive. He is still having a slightly, well, not really. He is on more bases, but he's lost so many probes that you can't quite say he has a better economy. D-Web now is about to finish research, so he can incorporate some Corsairs, and with so few units on both sides, maybe just coming in and blanketing with he doesn't have the energy upgrade. So coming in blanketing with 4 D-Webs could be effective, maybe, in some context.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. D-Web's only good against really pretty stationary Terran lines, so when you're attacking into a big defensive Terran line, and it looks like there is going to be no letting off the Zeran. He knows that if he loses momentum here, he's probably going to lose the game, because then Splax will be able to take it comfortably into a nice economic position here, so he's trying to keep the momentum up. He might let it slip a little bit too far away from him, though. Oh, another big mine hit goes off, taking out so many Dragoons. It's a shame that he pulled those tanks so far back, those extra tanks, because they could have made all the difference right here. And it looks like it might just be enough for Splax to stabilize, and I think this is going to be problematic from now on for Zeran. He's lost a bit too much momentum here, I think, and lost a bit too much in the way of army as well. He is floating out the 3rd command center, so he can still go blow for blow in the economic game here, but he's going to have a lot of trouble, and that's a good gateway count now up for Splax, and he's going to have a very nice time of attacking stationary Terran defenses if he has a decent number of Corsairs with D-Web.
Yeah, it's up to 5 now with the 6th one in production. Okay, we're finally moving out with the Corsairs. I'm interested to see how they're used. This is a pretty tight position, so it's going to be hard to spread out the tanks, especially if you don't know that Corsairs are coming. But here they come, and you can put some really nice D-webs down right now. Boom, there goes one, there goes two.
And Zoran not so happy about this. The D-Web really finishes things off here. His Vulture's going into disarray. His Siege Tank's doing nothing whatsoever. And these Dragoons are going to be able to easily clean up what remains of the Protoss army. The Vultures, of the Terran army rather. The Vultures coming in to reinforce. And could be some big mines going off. Mines have been representative of the troubles that Splax has faced throughout this game, but it looks like he's going to get away with the whole thing. Another decent army now at his natural 2, so he's going to be able to see off this Vulture harass fairly easily as well. Tank making a little bit of a break for it there, but he is going to get taken down, and I think Zoran has just gone a little bit too far past the point of where he has the momentum and where he's on top of things to really be able to hold his own in this game anymore.
Yeah. I mean, if he can somehow slow down the Protoss, he will be able to saturate that third base even better and get up a pretty good economy, but he's adding on more factories. He has a pretty good factory count. I don't think he's going to quite be able to, though, especially if the D-webs can be incorporated in effectively. But the Protoss army is moving across the map, eating mine hits along the way, just does not care at all. That's fine. But Terran has finally been pushed back to the point where they can't be aggressive anymore, now have to play defensively, and there's not a whole lot of siege tanks to play defensively with. It's a very vulture-heavy army. They do have time to set down some good mines, though, before the engagement happens, but D-webs go down on the very few tanks there are, and that's going to be such a big deal in this battle. No siege tanks you're going to be able to use. Oh, yeah, this is not looking good. You can probably de-web them, but no, doesn't even need to as the Dragoons step forward. Using the Corsairs, snipe that engineering bay, and he's going to eat a lot of mine hits. He's going to eat a lot of mine hits.
Wow, Corsairs are really good against buildings. Who would have ever known? Those Corsairs just destroyed that engineering bay right there. So Terran, without an engineering bay and without many siege tanks, vultures, SCVs, bases or otherwise, he's going to find himself crashing out of this game probably very soon as the Protoss streams more and more stuff in. Splax laying down more D-web. This is definitely a day of cool plays. We've seen mainly the crazy stuff come out after the results are already pretty much decided. But a good job here from Splax, just managing to hold out against that mid-game aggression when it looked like all might have been lost. And D-web coming into play, able to close this game out in quite some style. Now with the Terran completely in retreat, more Dragoons going down. There has been more blue goo in this game than I ever care to see.
Yeah, there it is.
GG
from Zered. Splax, with his impressive Corsair control, is going to get out of his group 3-0. Zaren still gets out of his group 2-1. And that will conclude the matches from group number 8. Cool
matches today. We've seen some epically long slugfest games and some bizarre, shorter, weird games, all of which are good and valid. But I believe we are in fact done for today until next weekend in terms of the ASL cast anyway. So all that's left to do is to thank you guys for watching, to thank our sponsors once again, who are of course the Noise, Nebopolis and Sale. Thank our lovely organisers too, who also helped to make this possible, and especially huge thanks to Hacklebeast for coming on today, because stepping into the breach at the last minute and making this cast possible. Thank you very much, Hacklebeast.
Alright, glad to do it. And don't forget, if you like our casting, we will be casting ISL tomorrow, 21 CET, Woo! With some very, very talented players. I'm actually really excited looking at those matchups. Ace versus Dodie, Cole versus Skylime. It's going to be good.
It's going to be incredible.
Snitzel versus Jumper for some really high-level PvP action.
Just to keep everybody updated, Group 6 is going to be casting next week. Because of all the technical difficulties today, it's got very late for me. And it would be resoundingly impossibly difficult to actually cast it right now, and I won't be able to give it my best, so it will be casted next week. But don't worry, it will definitely be done. I will have my issues resolved by then. I promise you.
Alright, and on that, thank you everybody for watching. See you all next time. Bye.
Thank you very much.